As you guys know, I generally play underdog, so this may be a surprise to some. It was a little bit of a surprise to me. I saw this matchup and I was like, yeah, this probably is a good spot to take Maryland, right? And you look at some of the trends for Purdue, they are troubling. They've lost their only true road game this season. That was at Northwestern, 92-88 in overtime. And they're now just 5-14 against the number, guys, last 19 road games. And that includes 0 for 7 when favored by 3.5 to 6 points. And early money sure seems to like Maryland. We've seen the number come down looking at the wagertalk.com odds screen, but I think this number's too short now. I think Purdue, best team in the country, and should be laying more than 6 against Maryland. Here's why. It's not like Purdue can't win outside of West Lafayette. Already this season, they've beaten Tennessee, Marquette, Alabama, and Arizona. Those were neutral court games, but that's 4 wins against KenPom top 10 teams. That's very impressive to me. And that game at Northwestern, if you remember, Purdue led by 8 at halftime. It was turnovers. It was an off night from 3 that resulted in the overtime loss. We all know about Zach Edey, 23.2 points, 10.2 rebounds per game. But I think what sets Purdue apart from last year, we all remember the embarrassing loss to Fairleigh Dickinson, is their guards can hit shots this year. Smith and Lawyer both hitting over 40% from 3. Purdue's going to have a big edge on the glass in this game, and they are one of just 3 teams, oh, by the way, that is top 10 over at KenPom in adjusted offensive and defensive efficiency. You look at those efficiency numbers, I'm a little worried with Maryland, 134th at the offensive end, and they shoot just 27.5% from 3. You're not beating the number 1 team in the country shooting 27.5% from 3. They also lack depth, 14.1 bench points per game. Pardon me, that's the second fewest in the Big Ten right now. And the big concern is the status of Jameer Young, who has the illness designation. He sat out Thursday's game against Coppin State. That was an easy win, but Purdue a lot better than Coppin State, obviously. And you're talking about a player in Young who had 37 against UCLA. He's the team's leading scorer. He's the leading assist man. I understand Maryland has won 19 straight at home, Teddy. But like Prez's streak, 7 straight years, getting the job done on New Year's Eve. All good streaks must come to an end. And Maryland, they go down tonight, and I don't think they're even going to cover the spread. I would lay it with the Boilermakers.
Yeah, Prez has been talking about that streak for as long as I've known him. So, he gets to live. Literally every year he brings it up. I want to ask you about this when it comes to Maryland has been a very bad point spread team this year, 4-9 against the number. Purdue has been a very good point spread team this year, 9-3 with a push against the number. When you're talking about January, are you looking in general to bet on the teams that have been good point spread teams so far and against the teams that have been bad point spread teams so far? Or is it kind of vice versa? Do you expect it to flip around? Or is it a non-factor for you?
Usually, Teddy, I come on the show, regularly, and I talk a lot about regression to the mean. So that's, I started out that analysis saying I'm a little surprised because I was like, oh, Maryland's going to be undervalued in this spot. I look at this number and I can't get there. I think Purdue should be favored by at least another possession in there. Typically, when I see something like that, one team killing it against the point spread, the other team really struggling, that does lead to value at a certain point. I just wonder if in this particular instance, remember when we talked about the Bulls last week, I kept harping on case-by-case analysis, and I think in this particular instance, maybe the odds makers were just anticipating that people wanted to play Maryland here. First game of the year, hey, they'll be fired up to host the number 1 team in the country. And I think maybe they just set the number short. And that's what I'm seeing. And people have jumped on it. I guess they like the spot. But again, I'm just staring at this number. I think Purdue is, even on the road, is a lot better than 6 points than Maryland.